Hello, Melissa Mantak, triathlon coach at The Empowered Athlete. Visit my website, empoweredathlete.com, for more information on me. So this week's video blog is on strategic race selection for this season. How do you go about doing that? Race selection is really important because it then guides the pathway of your training and preparation for the entire season. So you start by assessing your race goals and dreams, and then everything else starts to fall in place from there. So here's some guidelines on how to put together a race season that works best for you. Assess what your goal is. What's your dream goal? What's your big goal? What's your reaching goal? They can be race distances or race speeds. Is your dream to complete your first Ironman, complete your first sprint triathlon? What is your goal? It can also be to move up from a sprint distance to an Olympic distance race. Or maybe you have bigger reaching goals to qualify for USAT Nationals or to qualify for our World Championship event. You know, the sky's the limit. Or how about just trying something new and different? There's the new super sprint format, the mixed team relay, and also gravel triathlon. These are some really, really great events to try. There's really goals and distances out there to meet anyone's dreams. So then what's your current triathlon experience level? Are you a novice, or are you experienced seasoned triathlete? Or are you a novice triathlete, but an experienced endurance athlete in the swim, the bike, or the run? What's your background? As a novice athlete, it's best to start with a short race and then build from there, getting faster or going to longer distances. Start short and then grow. If you're a beginner triathlete, but an experienced endurance athlete with a background in any of the three sports, it's possible that you can progress at a quicker rate. For example, if you've done several half and full Ironmans, you could potentially progress faster into, like, say, a 70.3 half Ironman distance. You also have to remember that the rate of your progression is going to depend a lot on your swimming capabilities and skills. Proper swim technique and competence in the open water is critical to success on race day. Even if you just want to complete your race, you need to be confident and competent, because the swim is where many athletes struggle and can potentially fail without adequate preparation. So prep your swim, know your swim capabilities, and be careful about that. Prep in the open water, absolutely. As a seasoned athlete, the sky is the limit for speed and distance of your goal races. Hopefully you can make a good progression, a logical progression, but reach out for those goals, because qualifying for a national championship is not that far out of reach for most people. For all triathletes, it's important also to look at what's going on in your life currently and for the next, say, year of training. Because if you have a career change, getting married, moving, any of these big life events can take a big toll on your training. So if you have any of these big things going on, plan around that. Give yourself plenty of time to course correct. And of course, there's also the unexpected things that happen in life. So it's another reason to give yourself a couple of extra months of training and preparation just in case. All right, so down to the planning. You want to start with your biggest goal of the season first. So if you're starting with a big Ironman or USAT Nationals, you're going to Nationals for the first time, that would be your big goal. And then you plan everything backwards from there. So start with a calendar and then look at the races leading up to that. So how do you plan around that? What's a good way to do that? Start with shorter races before longer races. I mentioned that earlier, especially if you're just starting out. This allows you to get acquainted or reacquainted with triathlon training and racing, and then grow your confidence and check your fitness before you go into a bigger goal race. Choose goal races that fit your strengths, that play to your strengths, but also help you build your weak area too. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And if you're only doing your fun sports, then in training and preparation, then you will struggle more on your bigger races. So that's where our weakest is we need to train the weakness to become a strength. Then, so also leading into that is single sport races, especially in your weak area, and especially races that are more specific to what you're doing. So if you're training for a hilly race, then do some hilly training races. Are you new to running? Get into some 5 and 10K races so you know what it feels like, or do a marathon. Give yourself plenty of time to recover from that marathon if you're doing a full Ironman. Also, doing open water swim races or aquathons, swim run events can help you feel more comfortable and confident in your abilities in the open water. And then how do we space them out? What's the distance between races? So general guidelines are, after a sprint race, take about 2 to 4 weeks before you do an Olympic distance race or the next race. After an Olympic distance race, allow 3 to 5 weeks recovery before your next race. After a 70.3, 5 to 8 weeks recovery. And after a full Ironman, 8 to 16 weeks recovery. And it's okay to take more time between races. These are just basic general guidelines. Racing too much can put you in a state of overtraining and under recovery, and that recovery is really critical if you want to do well in your big race, especially if it's a championship event or a full Ironman distance event. And another rule of thumb is not more than 1 race per month. That kind of guides things pretty well. And then if you're traveling to a race, you'll need a little bit more recovery time. Also, keeping in mind that if you choose an early season race, say in March, you could be doing the majority of your training through the winter months and or through the holidays. So be cognizant of those goals, those early season goals. It can be a little harder, especially if you're doing a full Ironman. You're doing a lot of your training indoors, and just make sure that you can feel prepared doing those things. And then if you're leveling up to that big reaching goals, where do you find the races? Where do you find the big goal race, and where do you find the smaller races leading into that? I've got links on my website to all these resources, but just quickly, one of my favorite websites is tryfind.com. All distances, all states for your races. Ironman.com has all your Ironman branded 70.3 and full distance Ironman races. There are races out there that are the half and full distance that are not Ironman branded. Then also the USA Triathlon website, they have a list of their sanctioned events across the country. And then how do you qualify for the bigger races? How do you qualify? Well, first of all, there's no qualification requirement for to do an Ironman or to do a half Ironman 70.3 distance. But there are cutoff times in these races, so be aware of that. If you want to be an official finisher, you will need to finish under certain time cutoffs. And you also do need to qualify for any world championships for 70.3 and Ironman. Again, I have the links on my website for how to do that. And then in order to qualify for a USAT Nationals for sprint or Olympic distance, you can do this by placing well at a local USAT sanctioned event placing well in your age group. Again, I have that link on my website of how to do that. And one of the newest and funnest additions to the World and National Championships are, as I mentioned earlier, the Super Sprint and the Mixed Team Relay formats. These are both really fun and fast events. And these races are run at an event called the USA Triathlon Multisport National Championship Festival. There's aquathlon national championships. It's a whole bunch of national championships all at once. And most of them you don't need to qualify for. That's pretty cool. Don't need to qualify for a national championships. And again, more information on my website there. So next, where is the race? Is it going to be a local race or a destination race? I'd say if you're starting out and you're newer in the sport, it's best to maybe stick closer to home, a little easier on the travel. You've got a lot of support people around you and you know the area well. You don't get lost in some big city traffic or, some crazy stuff that can happen in other places. Otherwise, oftentimes athletes will take a big destination race, say to Australia, Hawaii, New Zealand, anywhere there are races around the world. You can race anywhere and make a big trip out of it. One of the big challenges with traveling to these races is traveling with your bicycle. There are options to pack your bike and travel with you, take it to a bike shop, have them help you with the travel by UPS or like FedEx. But then there are also race transportation, bike transportation companies that take your bike to the race for you, and they do that all over the place. It's very convenient, it's very helpful, and very reasonably priced. Then also research deeply into the race and the conditions around the race. Will it be hilly? Will it be flat? What's the weather going to be? Is it going to be hot, humid, windy, cold, rainy? What's the general weather going to be there? And we also know with climate change that weather can change. So it's good to be prepared for just about any weather possible. And then what's the terrain? Is it hilly? Is it flat? What's the size of the race? Thousands or hundreds? What's the size of the city you're going to? What's the accommodation like? Is there camping? Is it a nice hotel? What fits your budget and your lifestyle? Then you want to check the local weather at that time of year, and then check Facebook groups and other social media sites to get some real good insights into what other athletes have experienced, what local people have to say, and what the local race director is also sending out there. So find some races, and then even single sport races that mimic those conditions that you're going to be racing in. So full hilly race, you want to do some hilly single sport races. And then, of course, specific preparation for your distance and your goals. Lots of hill training. So say if you have a hilly race, you want to be racing a lot of hills. One year for World Championships, I knew it was going to be really hilly on the bike and the run. And I ran so many hills and I rode so many hills. It was intense. I mean, I was really prepared for this race. So by the time I got to race day, that course felt flat. Well, I mean, it wasn't flat, obviously. It was very hilly, but I crushed all of those hills and had a great result. It was really one of my best results ever. Also, if you're prepping for extra heat or cold, there's some acclimatization you can do beforehand, saunas, hot yoga, cold plunge, etc. But also know that if there are time cutoffs or time goals that you need to qualify or finish officially, pay attention to what those are and make sure you're training to meet those goals specifically. Do that race preparation training to meet those goals that you have, those big dream goals that you have. And then also, in order to pick the best timeline for your season, it's important to know that one size did not fit all. Training and preparation for race is a dynamic process. Make a plan, be flexible along the way, and course correct as needed. There's no single road to your final destination. Take care.